Hello and welcome back everyone, and the challenge is a unique reality TV show in that the format can change from season to season. We could have an individual season, then a paired season, or a team season. And even in those three formats, there could be various different twists and unpredictable elements that can make or break a season. It got me thinking, what are some of the most baffling, most confusing, bad decisions productions implemented for a particular season that when looking back on it, makes no sense? Well, in this video, I handpicked a few decisions that are the most frustrating for me to go back and watch certain seasons and makes me question, what were you thinking? Now, this is purely my opinion, and I will give reason for why I think this way. Now, just because I may not like something, someone else out there might like it. And if you like anything that I bring up that I have a problem with, please let me know your opinion and your criticism and why you like that certain thing down in the comment section below. I want to hear what everybody has to say. But now let's get on with the video, starting with Gauntlet 2 has to be one of the least mentioned or least talked about seasons in challenge history. It just seems like it's a season that gets overlooked. It had a pirate theme. It also has one of the worst, if not the worst, finals in challenge history. But one thing about the season that I have been thinking about nearly non-stop for a month is the format of team captains. There is no way to not be a team captain once you are a team captain, and if your team loses, you always have to go in. I like when the challenge tries something new, but this makes no sense. This plays directly into what the audience hates about some seasons of the show, and that was seeing the same people going into the elimination over and over and over again. And with the teams knowing who one of the players at least was going into the elimination each and every week, that just left the house having to vote in one other person, allowing bigger alliances just to team up on one other person. I'm glad we've never seen this format ever again because it's just absolutely ridiculous. And in the context of the season, it's so frustrating because Derek, who was fighting and clawing his way through the entire season as a captain, lost in like the final elimination to a reverse tug of war, where 9 out of 10 times the bigger player wins that no matter what. That could have been something else on this list, is reverse tug of war. That is never a good idea, or really any weight-based eliminations, where unless your name is Jordan, it has very little to do with skill and just who weighs more. The next season I have a bone to pick is the first ever season I covered on this channel, and that is season 32, Final Reckoning. What I think they did bad on that season was the Redemption House rules. The first ever time that the Redemption House twist was implemented on the challenge was season 26, Battle of the Exes 2, which I think that Redemption House was done perfectly. When two eliminated pairs were in the Redemption House, they would face off against each other in like an elimination style game where whoever won gets to stay in the Redemption House and whoever lost would go home. And then you keep doing that process until the Redemption House twist is over and you have one team coming back into the game after they have won however many redemption/elimination games. The next time we saw a Redemption House was season 30, Dirty 30. Because this was a solo season, it wasn't done exactly like Battle of the Exes 2, but I still think that this format for the Redemption House worked in that they did like a battle royale, bracket style games where everyone in the Redemption House had to compete and had to win their way back into the game. For some reason, in season 32, the challenge decided to get lost in the sauce by having a Redemption House twist where people would just go to the Redemption House. Then they would have a double cross where another team could pick another team to face off against in the elimination. If your team wasn't chosen, you just had to walk off. You were just eliminated. So the players who were purged during a daily challenge, who didn't even lose an elimination, if they weren't chosen, like CT and Veronica, they just walked off into the sunset. But not only that, if you were chosen for the redemption game by the person who picked the double cross, if you lost that redemption game, you just went back to the Redemption House? Hello? You lost. Still to this day, I cannot wrap my head around that Natalie and Paulie lost 3 out of 5 redemption games / eliminations, yet somehow made it to the final. They had a chance of winning the game. Even though they spent 90% of their time in the Redemption House, it's baffling. I don't understand this rule whatsoever. And it ruined Redemption Houses for me overall. I never want to see a Redemption House ever in the challenge. And if we do, it specifically has to be either or of Dirty 30 or Battle of the X's 2. Like, I want to see everybody compete, and if you lost, whether it's an elimination or a redemption game, you gotta get out. This next one isn't really a format, but more of a missed opportunity, and that is for Season 39, Battle for a New Champion. There were no long-term vets who were not champions on that season. I mean, I understand the challenge wanting to invest in some of the newer competitors that were brought on during the Global Series or in the most recent seasons of Season 38 and Season 37, but the challenge has so many winless competitors. What is the excuse that we could not have a Nani, a Corey, a Nisa, a Leroy, a Cam, anyone that we have grown to watch on this show for season after season, root for, root against, to be on Battle for a New Champion? These 1 to 2 season challengers are just going up against other 1 to 2 season competitors to win against, and they're going to be crowned challenge champion going up against them, rather than 10-time challenge competitors, 12+ season challenge competitors who have not gotten that win having a chance at a cast like this? Absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. It's baffling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Now, going back one season, Karma Points was the worst thing they could have ever done. Now, I will add an amendment to this. I don't think it was the worst thing. What the worst thing was is that they had something to do with giving people an advantage in the final. You make Karma Points have to do something right before the final. The daily challenge, or having to go into an elimination right before, if you don't have enough Karma Points or anything like that. Do something within the game that can be nullified by the time you get to the final. The final should be its own thing. Also, it's just a popularity contest. The people who are out by episode 2, 8 people who are out by episode 2 are just going to be handing their Karma Points to friends. They're rarely in the house for 48 hours. The Karma Points was awful and doubled down on this friendship thing. Speaking of friendships, I also, looking back on it, didn't care for the Season 38 Ride or Dies theme. After how Season 37 ended, when TJ looked at CT and Casey and was like, do you want to give any of the money away? Leaving them in a rock and a hard place to be like, I want all this money. I won this money fairly according to the rules. But now that TJ is asking me, maybe they want to do it out of the kindness of their heart, but they're kind of forced. We go from that ending for Season 37 over to Friendship the Season, Season 38. And what's laughable is that half of these partnerships aren't even friends. They don't even know each other. Nam and Emmy, they're just like a part of the same management company. Fessel and Mariah barely knew each other. I mean, truly, this is nothing new, going back to even Rivals 2, where you have Johnny and Frank paired up because of Twitter beef. But honestly, when you have a season of friendships and half the pairs aren't even friends, like, what are we doing here? Real quick, the last frustration that I have in the 30s is the spy theme. I think that was a giant mistake, a giant waste of time. They could have done something interesting with the format to maybe spy on their fellow competitors. I think that could have been interesting, with especially names like double agents could have been fun to play with in the format or the game style in general. Instead, it was just everybody wearing turtlenecks in the confessionals and everything just looking drab and dark. Being a few years removed, it's now just looking cringe, and I don't care to watch those seasons anytime soon. And they were so serious. That was around the time that the challenge was trying to be America's 5th sport, which is confusing that they wanted to be looked at as a sport, yet they were doing such gimmicky aesthetics as the spy theme. Why not just do like a Free Agents 2? Make everybody wear jerseys. Lean into the sports thing at least. The next bad decision I want to talk about is Season 18's format of champions versus challengers. Just think about that for a second. You have champions, aka known winners, versus challengers, people who have lost challenges and or are rookies. I wonder what could happen. Do we think that this is going to be close in any way when you have known winners facing off against known losers? Now, mind you, the champions team came in with a ton of baggage where you have Kenny versus Wes. There was a lot of hostility to one another early on. And some will say that in the final, the two-person team of Kellyanne and Sarah actually held their own and was ahead of the champions team for a while. But over the course of the entire final, the champions team was able to overcome them and win that season. It just is like, what did you expect would happen on a season where you have champions versus challengers? Granted, some on the challengers team would go on to become challenge champions themselves and icons of the game, but let's be for real. If that was submitted to you of champions versus challengers, take a deep breath, maybe go sleep on the idea and then wake up and realize that this wasn't the best idea for a good competitive season to have winners versus losers. And finally, I'm gonna say it, season 16, The Island, was just a bad decision overall. Now, I made a whole video about this. Truly, this felt like the challenge having 1 foot in the challenge and 1 foot in Survivor. To have no challenges in a show called The Challenge, and to forego elimination games, to then have vote-offs, which wasn't on the show for 7 seasons. And for a good reason. It adds a level of competition. It adds another challenge into the challenge. And they gave up all of that. The episodes are 40 minutes of people just wandering around talking about how hungry they are. Why this season doesn't fully work and why it works on Survivor is that, for the most part, Survivor is a bunch of strangers playing the game with other strangers. And the game changes throughout the process of playing. They have to manipulate and lie and go in between alliances to get far into the game. For the challenge, you have a ton of people who have known each other for years, so they're already coming in with established alliances, established lines. If they allowed everybody to be involved in the elimination to where anybody could be eliminated at a drop of a hat, that would be interesting. If there was immunity challenges instead of 3-person face-offs, but now I'm just talking about people playing Survivor. There's a reason why they've never done this ever again, and why they won't ever do it again. It was a bad idea, and that's why it's only 8 episodes long, and that's why they had to have a sequel to a challenge season that was looked at very fondly, The Duel, with The Duel 2, and why they never went back to vote-offs, they never went back to face-offs, and they just got back to their challenge formula, and that's where they kept it from there on out. But those are just some of my opinions of some production decisions that happened over the course of the challenge that have gotten me frustrated or had me confused. Don't get me wrong, I like when the challenge likes to tinker with their formatting and likes to try different things and swing for the fences. Sometimes it works out great. And other times, like all the cases that I mentioned in this video, it just did not work, at least for me. But what do you think about everything that I mentioned in this video? Let me know down in the comment section below. What are some decisions that were made in past seasons that you are not a fan of, as well as what are some production decisions that you are a fan of? Let me know in the comment section below, and I might use your comment in a future video coming up possibly next month for a sequel to this video. But let me know anything and everything you felt about this video down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say. And now I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.